You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely. I made two mistakes today. I didn't change the opening. It is Cindy and Al, and then I didn't put us up because I was grabbing notes and everything. So there you go, proving that we are live here on the Pace Radio Network. It is May the 4th be with you, and good morning and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News, your cannabis and psychedelics news source down here at paceradio.net, plus cbgtv.com, YouTube, Facebook, Foxcast with the Roku and the Fire TV, and LinkedIn. We're on LinkedIn. And we are most definitely live, and I'd love to prove it with my little mistakes. Good morning, Al.
No editing going on here. Good morning, Cindy. How you doing?
Oh, well, I got the mistakes out of my system, so I'm doing good now. Thank you. How are you?
Hey, you've been away for a couple weeks. That happens. I'm doing all right. I hope my internet survives.
Yes. Yeah, I got to get myself back in working order and doing everything in order, because it has been a few weeks since I've been on doing these shows. And I think I've gone through this with every show I've come back on. So now that I've done all three, hopefully it'll smooth out again.
Exactly. We should let everybody know that I'm covering for Glenn. Glenn's still down in Costa Rica, and having internet issues down there. This morning he couldn't hear you. Could see him, just couldn't hear us.
Couldn't hear.
So he's coming home back to Canada here in a little while, and he'll be back up here where he's got some good internet. And in the meantime, he's gonna try. We'll try each week probably something, and try to get him back here onto the airwaves so he can get back involved, because I know that he really wants to do this.
Yeah, he misses it for sure. He's disappointed when it doesn't work. So we've got an idea to try for next week, and keep our fingers crossed that that'll work for him, and we'll go from there.
Correct. Yep.
Correct.
All righty.
We're going to head to our first story now. We are heading over to the Saanich News, and we are going to learn a little bit about what's happening out in Victoria, BC. Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club files a lawsuit, injunction, against the province.
That's right. The Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club filed a lawsuit injunction against the province, citing repeated raids, fines, and harassment. Filing day came May the 2nd. After years of preparation and many steps backwards, BC president and founder Ted Smith said in a press conference prior to entering the Victoria courthouse.
Yes. The onslaught continues. The threats against our landlords and the actions, including the last raid on March 23rd, have made it so that we really have no choice but to file these documents today, Ted said. The VCBC is an unlicensed dispensary operating, out of they're against the Cannabis Control and Licensing Act, and provides cannabis to people who have a documentation of a chronic medical issue that can be treated using cannabis. So it's not for everybody, and he makes sure to see your medical before.
Yeah, exactly. It's not operated like a recreational store. No. You have to prove your medical benefit or medical need and requirements. I know in the compassion clubs in the days in Toronto, you always had to fill out a form and even get it signed by your doctor in order to prove your medical need. So similar there. So where were we here? Yeah, the charter rights that we are alleging and are being infringed are primarily those in Section 7 in the Charter, which guarantees you the right to life, liberty, and security of the person, according to BC lawyer Tusaw. And at this time, the club is still awaiting a response from Health Canada regarding a Controlled Drugs and Substance Act exemption, which would authorize the BC to operate outside of the current cannabis legalization framework.
Yeah, you go, Ted. We are looking forward to getting our case before a competent court to resolve these issues, which not only affect our patients but impact medical cannabis users across Canada, Smith said in a press release. Our amazing lawyers have prepared solid constitutional arguments that should both protect our organization and force Health Canada to make important changes to their program. You go, Ted. The club has amassed $6.5 million in fines due to operating without a license, and recently had to move locations after being evicted. And that was really sad that they got evicted, but it was so powerful to see the community come together and move him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. I just want to make note here that the law this is all about due to high prices, low dosage available edibles, and as well as storefront access for patients, because right now there is none.
No.
Yeah. In the dispute against the fine, Smith said VCBC was previously able to argue implementation of the fines was not constitutional, but regulations have changed. As a result, the lawsuit will also argue abuse of power by the provincial government. It goes on. Tusaw says that we have a lot of high hopes for this. We think we will prevail because at the end of the day, we stand in the shoes of the patients that need us the most.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
And you know, that combination, VCBC and Tusaw, has done lots of work on the cannabis file, and we are where we are today
because of another Smith being Owen and Neil Allard. Those two cases won us a lot, and this is just the next step that we need to take, because the government was told you must do this out of the Owen Smith case, and they've only done this much of it.
Oh yeah. Each time the patients have won in court, the government has only incrementally barely even changed it. Just enough to say that they changed it, and that was it, instead of doing what they should be doing.
So taking it to the Supreme Court of Canada again, I think is the right move, and I think it's about time that we did. I say we, I mean, Ted's the one doing it. He's the one spearheading it. But really, he's doing it on behalf of all patients. So
and you know, people can get involved in one way or the other. Like, you know, here we promote them raising money in order to deal with their fines. You know, once this is going here, I'll be talking to Ted to see if there's something that we can create to help promote, involved with this court case with them.
Absolutely. And the next time I head
out, others can do the same thing. In some way, do something.
Yep.
Go ahead.
And when I was going to say, the next time I head up to BC, I have plans. I'm heading over with my medical documentation to the VCBC and signing up and becoming a member and supporting them as a member.
Good.
Because I think that's important. And hopefully I'll get a mic that works, and I'll get a chance to talk with Ted while I'm over there. And maybe it won't be monster raining. But on to the next story. We are heading over to CTV News out of Vancouver Island, actually. Nanaimo researchers are growing medical mushrooms for Health Canada.
For the government. Interesting. Researchers in the field of mental health are increasingly looking to produce psychedelics as a treatment option, and some of the country's leading research in that field is happening in Nanaimo. I can't pronounce that word. As at a secret location. Gee, it sounds like when the cannabis started being grown by people. In the secret location in Harbor City, researchers at Numinus Bioscience have spent years developing medical psilocybin mushrooms.
Yeah, that's really exciting. The place here in Nova Scotia in Windsor is at an undisclosed location too, but it's a 2-minute walk that way.
And it was that way when the cannabis, like when PPS started growing cannabis for Health Canada, they were the first licensed producer. People weren't known where they were, and even when the licensed producer started, there was some that were very basically they're trying to protect them. It was if it was all of a sudden they're going to be overtaken by a massive amount of people and ripped off.
Yeah. Yeah. Now they give tours if you reach out ahead of time. It's
Exactly.
completely different now. But they still make you dress up in the whole hazmat suit. They don't want any
Yeah.
hairs in their cannabis, and I get
Right.
that. We have actually created the first natural psilocybe mushroom product that has been accepted by Health Canada, says Sharon Sidhu, who is the Vice President of the Scientific Research, Innovation, and Lab Operations with Numinous Bioscience. Under strict guidelines from Health Canada, the team at Numinous, which describes itself as a mental health service provider and research facility, had to create everything from scratch.
Yeah, Peyton Nyquist, he's the CEO of the company. He says, from what we can tell, we probably grew the first legal psilocybin mushroom since the 1970s. To create their mushroom, cells have to be developed and validated, then incubated to create clones. Those clones eventually get used to cultivate psilocybin mushrooms.
Sitting here giggling for half a minute. From what we can tell, we probably grew the first legal psilocybin mushrooms since the 70s. So Mother Nature should be thrown in jail.
Yeah. Or were they legal in the 1970s or 60s?
I think there was, yeah, they were legal, and then weren't they outlawed in 71?
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But like I say, Mother Nature has been growing them ever since then.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So apparently she's a criminal.
She is.
We don't have blueprints for this. This is the first time that this has happened, says Sidhu. From start to finish, the process takes 8 to 12 weeks.
Yeah, our product is a tea bag, and it contains or delivers 25 milligrams of psilocybin. The tea will be used in the first phase of an upcoming clinical trial using a natural form of psilocybin.
Someday it could be prescribed to Canadians to treat conditions like depression and PTSD. Science is really backing that up, showing the effectiveness of those treatments, said the other lady.
The clinical trial for the natural psilocybin tea has been approved for 500 participants and is expected to begin in June. So that's another month away. They go on to say that the research that we continue to see around psychedelic assisted therapy continues to be extremely compelling, according to Nyquist.
There you go. Currently, psychedelics are only available through Health Canada's Special Access Drug Program, which just doesn't work.
Yeah.
We have to be very thoughtful and intentional about how we roll out the access to psychedelic therapy.
Oh, there you go.
Which is true. Like, I mean, even if you, like, I mean, on this side of the whole, like, we're, like, I don't necessarily follow the government's rules on it, because to me, it's a natural medicine, just like cannabis, and I'm kind of attacking it just like cannabis.
Right.
So for somebody like me, it's just.
Well, it's it's a mushroom. It's growing on the ground. It's growing out of the ground. You give it water, and what do you do with the cannabis plant? It grows out of the ground, and you give it water.
Yep. Yep.
There's no. Yeah.
Yep. It's crazy, but we just need more people to do what Ted Smith is doing for cannabis and stand up and fight. And eventually, all the natural things out there will be legal. I just find it so funny. We are staying in BC, and we are heading over to StratCan. And BC needs somebody to come take pictures of weed. Who's a good photographer?
Really? I don't know. I'm sure there's people at all kinds of different levels that would like to give this a try. But the BC government's liquor distribution branch, which is LDB, is seeking bids from experienced and qualified photographers to take photos of cannabis products. In a recent tender, the LDB said they are looking for applicants who can create images on site at the licensed producer facilities, retail stores, or in studio with products sent to them by the LDB.
Wow. The agency will be accepting bids until May 24th, 2023. The final date for the receipt of questions from proponents is May 8th, 2023. Questions received after May 8th may not be answered. The images will be used on the LDB's Cannabis Marketing Department for BC Cannabis Stores, BC Wholesale, and the LDB's websites and newsletters in store marketing, including signage, digital displays, brochures, postcards, social media platforms, and other marketing collateral as needed for cannabis operations such as brochures, location shots, portrait shots, and magazine publications. Well, this sounds like a great opportunity for somebody.
It sounds like it. Photographers would need to be familiar with all applicable federal and provincial cannabis marketing rules and restrictions, and will need to supply their own equipment. An LDB representative may also attend site visits at production facilities or BC cannabis stores. The LBD also notes that it may ship products to the contractor that can be bulky and costly to ship. So does that mean that the person is liable for that? Let's see. The contractor will need a safe and secure location to receive these shipments and the ability to return them to the LBD in a rapid and safe manner.
I mean, I got to return them?
You got to return them, and I hope I hope that person doesn't have to pay for the shipping to send it back.
Yeah, that would suck. The LDB also notes that it may ship products to the contractor. Oh, we already read that one. The contractor must provide the LDB with finished images within 3 days from receipt of any product, including completing any necessary proofing and editing unless otherwise directed by the LDB. The LDB will own the property rights, including intellectual property rights, of all materials produced by the contractor for the LDB. Application information can be found here if you want to.
Here, yeah. Several other RFPs for other public cannabis agencies are available at the moment. The OCS is seeking a supplier to help the provincial agency deliver approved promotional items to the general public, stakeholders, and employees, and that closing date for bids is May the 18th.
Seeking a supplier to help the provincial agency deliver. Interesting. The Insurance Corporation of BC, the ICBC, recently shared its intention to directly award an extension of contract to Precision Medical Monitoring Limited to provide medical review and advice regarding cannabis claims for 1 additional year. The Society Québécoise du Cannabis, the SQDC, is seeking bids for the supply of an integrated human resources and payroll management solution in cloud computing mode, professional services for the integration of the proposed solution, as well as outsourcing of payroll. Oh, I couldn't get that word out.
Yeah, it looks like this is job posting territory of this article. It goes on to say that, the LDB is looking for some people, and as well as Cannabis NB is expecting to release information on a private retail store location. So,
wow,
there you go.
Wow, private retail store locations in New Brunswick.
Yeah.
Wow, that's exciting.
So if you're good with photography, there's a job for you. You would like to go around and take pictures. There's some things in there that sort of sound.
Yeah, no,
that sounds really good.
That's a really amazing opportunity. The only thing I don't like is they send you a bunch of product, you take pictures of it, and now you have to send it back. Like, come on.
I think I'd like, and also they said 3 days. What if you're having to do stuff for them for 2 days, and then all of a sudden you've got to get that stuff to them right away, especially that early stuff, and there might not be enough time to edit things.
Yeah, it might.
I'm sure that could be all negotiable with whomever.
But I mean, a professional photographer who's really good at it, they might be able to, because they can't ship more than 30 grams to somebody, right? Even for them. If they're not selling it to the shipping it to the retailer, do they not have to follow those rules too? I'm kind of curious about that. So if they can only ship 30 grams worth of product at a time, 3 days should be doable for that, I would think, maybe.
Well, it sounds like they want the pictures back. They want the photos within the 3 days. So
yeah, they want the photos, but then you have to ship everything back. Yeah,
the delivery of the product back to them. Yeah, that's crazy. Be nice to keep it though.
I'll take
You want
pictures,
this?
but
I
I'll
opened it.
also review. Yeah.
I thought you wanted
On
me
to
to
the
test
last. Yeah. On to the last story before the break, coming to us from MJ Biz Daily. New research confirms plant-killing black root rot in cannabis facility. Ugh.
Oh, look at that in the pictures. You can see the good roots on the left. You can see the dark ones on the right. Oh,
Yeah.
the fungus that causes the black disease or the plant disease black root rot has spread to cannabis plants beyond hemp. Warns new research that identified the pathogen in a licensed commercial cultivation facility in BC, Canada. Oh. Black root rot can be fatal to cannabis plants, says Chris Dunnigan, a PhD candidate in biology at the University of British Columbia, who specializes in cannabis and is a lead author of the new research in the academic journal Plant Disease. Ooh.
Wow. It's growing on and inside your root tissue, and then it's causing the roots to die. The plant will eventually die as a consequence of that, he said. The affected cannabis facility in Cranbrook, BC, had to throw out a whole bunch of equipment. They had to get rid of a bunch of plants because they had fungus that was growing and taking hold of their whole facility. Wow.
Oh. And if you can't control that, you'll face total crop destruction. Ugh. I have to talk to Tamara. She's in Cranbrook.
Yeah.
Black root rot. Yeah. Black root rot was previously documented in a hemp greenhouse in Kentucky in late 2019, according to a 2022 paper in the same journal. The research marks the first report of a black root rot in high THC containing cannabis, the newspaper notes.
Wow. Confirmation of black root rot in cannabis comes as the industry focuses on plant pathogens in light of spreading impact of hop latent viroid. However, David Kessler, who is the chief science officer with Bilica, who is a Massachusetts-based cannabis cultivation technology, Agrify Corp., said he doesn't expect that the black root rot will pose the same economic threat to the cannabis industry as does hop latent viroid.
That said, those cultivars that are affected by this most certainly are going to feel their economic damage, but having it be pervasive through the industry is less likely, Kessler says, who was not involved in the research. Commercial cannabis businesses should be aware that black root rot exists and poses a threat to their bottom line, according to Dunnigan.
Huh. The BC outbreak occurred at a cultivation facility that uses aeroponics, a method that leaves plant roots exposed and feeds them with a mist of water and nutrients. The grower contacted Dummigan after sending diseased plants from pathogen testing and received negative results.
Oh, to me, it's nothing to be ashamed of because that facility is quite clean, he says. It's not an oversight on their part. They were more or less victim of a lack of research in the area. This thing is more widespread than people think.
Yeah, cannabis hasn't been subject to the same research as other crops of similar market value, he said. So something like this can fly under the radar and still be discovered as a new pathogen in the crop in 2022, which I think is very interesting, but also points to a lack of knowledge about cannabis cultivation, and cannabis pathology.
Considering that black root rot has also been documented in greenhouse-grown hemp on the opposite side of North America, Dummigan said he would be highly surprised if the disease was new to cannabis. Infections might have been misclassified as another kind of root rot, he says.
It's not surprising that the black root rot would affect cannabis, says Kessler, who is the Agrify's chief science officer. It thrives in cold and wet conditions, he explained. In particular, Kessler suspects black root rot might be more likely in an aeroponic environment, such as the BC facility where it was detected, as opposed to cannabis grown in a medium.
Yeah, aeroponic growing is not the typical method of commercial cannabis production. It involves a very humid, air-rich environment, and it's a really great place to grow fungus, Kessler says. However, yeah, nice. However, the buffer of growing medium, he added, cannabis can be subject to much more rapid temperature swings.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Mm.
that can be something that helps promote these types of diseases, he said. A lot of these fungal spores can survive significant amounts of time just waiting for the right host and environment before they will, if you will, sprout and replicate. The University of BC Okanagan research, Dummigan said, the BC aeroponic facility is in question grew really robust cannabis plants that were disease-free for the longest time using a pathogen controlled method.
But he does wonder, I do wonder whether it's the unique aeroponic environment that really allowed this fungus to take hold in this facility. Despite that theory, Dummigan cautioned that the research does not prove any link between black root rot and aeroponic cannabis cultivation.
Since the aeroponic facility has been able to deal with this pathogen, monitoring it closely, always watching the roots, they haven't had any issues and they have really good, healthy crops, he said. Dummigan and his colleagues isolated the black root rot sample from the Canadian facility into a culture and sequenced its genome for the first time, allowing them to further study the fungus.
But what's really interesting, he says, is we can start to develop diagnostic tests that use genome sequence information to determine when it is there and when it is not. Dummigan says he's interested in developing new tests to detect the presence of black root rot in wastewater.
Hmm. Early detection is imperative, he said, because if you don't detect it early, you can't quarantine the infected crops and it's just going to spread through the facility. In the meantime, Dummigan has shared a technical bulletin about black root rot in cannabis on LinkedIn.
I think I've seen that. He said more research on black root rot in cannabis could include researching ways to combat the threat, such as microorganisms that produce antifungal compounds. Anecdotally speaking, Dummigan says we've seen genotype-specific resistance to this, and that some cultivators of cannabis will show more resistance than others.
Hmm. Hmm.
There you go.
Yeah, so apparently that's something new that we have to watch out for while we're growing, if we are growing um, the aeroponic way, which
At
I
least
know
it looks that way,
people.
anyways.
Yeah,
Yeah, they did comment that they haven't seen it in any medium, pro mix or any
yeah,
types of soils. It just seems to
soil or
be
water.
in
Yeah,
the water ones so far.
yep,
Yeah.
that's
And
awesome.
if depending on the way the system is run, if they're all if they're hooked together, you would think that anything that if one plant ends up with the root rot with that fungus, that fungus could make its way to the other plants just through the watering system
Oh, absolutely,
and just
very
spread.
easily.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yep. Well, Al, it's commercial time. It's time to hear from those who
Sure
help us
is.
inform our viewers. So you are watching Al and I here on the Psychedelics and Cannabis educational news found at paceradio.net, CBGD over the place. So you can check us out, and we will see you in just under 3 minutes.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
In February of 2022, the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club and Ted Smith were fined $6.5 million. This for helping 8,500 patients with access to medical cannabis. In our interview with Ted, he spoke to us about how people can donate to help in an upcoming court challenge. And here is part of that interview. From what I've seen lately, I believe that you've got something that you're trying to do as far as fundraising to deal with this next court challenge.
For now, people can write checks directly to Jack Lloyd Law Corporation or send e-transfers to save the VCBC at gmail.com. I guess those are the two easiest ways for people to help right now.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more. We've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Cannabis edibles are an effective way to manage pain and other ailments, especially when you deal with your trusted partner, Legacy 420, in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. You see, we lab test every product on site to ensure proper dosage every time, which is critical when consuming cannabis edibles. All Legacy 420 edibles are made by our classically trained baker and chocolatier, and we also have super tasty vegan options.
Our baker has been in the industry for 25 years. She's also a chocolatier. Everything from savory to sweet, your chocolate bars, brownies, butter tarts, you name it, we make it.
Talk to our knowledgeable Cannatex about our incredible variety available. Give your trusted partners a call. Legacy 420 out on your road.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
And welcome back to the Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News as we get started into the second half of our broadcast. And we have 4 more stories coming to you. And I was smart during the break. I got the next one ready.
All right. I know what you mean. Sometimes you get doing something and you go, oh shit.
We're coming back and I don't have the story ready. So yeah, we are heading over to CNN actually. And we are going to learn about the U.S. long jumper, Tara Davis-Woodhall, who was stripped of her national title after positive cannabis test. This takes me back to the Olympics.
Yes, yeah, exactly. U.S. as it says here, U.S. long jumper Tara Davis-Woodhall has been stripped of her recent national indoor title and hit with a 1-month suspension after a positive test for cannabis. The U.S. anti-doping agency announced on Tuesday. The USADA said Davis-Woodhall tested positive for THC, and her positive test was from the result of a sample collected in competition at the 2023 USA Track and Field Indoor Championship in Albuquerque, New Mexico on February the 17th, the same day she had won the title with a jump of 6.99 meters.
Davis-Woodhall, and she's 23, has already completed her suspension, which she began serving on March 21st. The positive test means that Davis-Woodhall lost her title, as she was disqualified from all competitive results obtained on and subsequent to February 17th, including forfeiture of any medals, points, and prizes. And I think that's so sad.
Disqualified from all competitive results. I hope it wasn't just that event. I hope they didn't take everything from any other event that she's been involved in.
Yeah.
Wow. Cannabis and hash and stuff like that are considered prohibited substances under the World Anti-Doping Agency rules, and the WADA seeks input on each year's updated version of the prohibited list. The USDA's press release states, USADA has advocated and will continue to advocate to the WADA, the rulemaker, to treat cannabis in a fairer and more effective way to identifying true in-competition use.
Yeah, and it's going to take ladies, both ladies that have had this happen to them. Like I said, this took me back to the Olympics, and now it's happened a second time. And of course, I mean, if we go back to Ross Rebigliati, this isn't the first time.
No.
And it's time. It is time for the WADA to take a better look at it.
Update things.
Yeah, per WADA,
Yeah.
THC allows for a reduced 3-month suspension if the athlete establishes the substance was taken out of competition and unrelated to sports performance. The US ADA said Davis-Woodhall, her case was reduced to 1 month for those reasons, and because she completed a substance abuse treatment program, oh my God, for her use of cannabis. In 2021, US sprinter Shakara Richardson, which we were just talking about, had initially booked her spot at the Tokyo Olympics with a runway victory in the women's 100 meter at the US Olympic track and field trials in Oregon, only to have her title stripped after testing positive for cannabis. Richardson was suspended for a month. USA Track and Field opted not to select her as part of the women's 4 times 100 meter relay pool after her suspension ended, keeping Richardson off the Olympic team. And I went over, I just took that right over. I guess I'm really upset about this. I am so upset about this.
Yeah,
you know what I
it's
mean?
not right. It's not right.
No.
I thought these drug bans were for performance enhancing.
Yeah.
They've stigmatized cannabis as something that makes people lazy, unmotivated, but yet it's a performance enhancer.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think they know what it is. Yeah, and they're
maybe they have it illegal because it's an illegal substance in some countries, but it's not illegal in all countries.
no.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to go with that because my brain is just going, and we only have so much time, so I should probably move on to the story, because otherwise I will go on and on about it. We are heading over to Ganjapreneur, and we're going to talk about how the Oregon Secretary of State resigns amid cannabis consultant controversy. Interesting.
Yeah, Oregon Secretary of State resigned on Tuesday amidst the controversy surrounding her role as a consultant for a cannabis company in Oregon. Oregon Live reports. Shima Fagan announced on Monday that she had left the consulting role after Republican lawmakers called her to resign from her office, and Governor Tina Kotek had requested an ethics probe into her cannabis gig.
Yeah, Fagan's cannabis consulting job was with Variety Holdings, an affiliate of the cannabis chain La Mota, and they had paid her $10,000 a month. In a statement, wow, yeah. Kotek said she supported Fagan's decision to step down.
$10,000 a month. Holy fuck! It is essential that Oregons have trust in their government. I believe this is a first step in restoring that trust. During the upcoming appointment process, my office will do everything possible to support the hardworking staff at the Secretary of State's office and ensure this will not disrupt the May 16 election, according to Kotek.
Yeah. Deputy Secretary of State Cheryl Myers will take over for Fagan until Kotek appoints a new Secretary of State to serve out the remainder of Fagan's term, which runs until January 2025.
Yeah. Geez, they're legalizing cannabis to get all the crooks out. They keep popping up somewhere, don't they? And these people might not even be consumers. Weren't even the people even listed that they thought who they were eliminating. So,
yeah. Heading over we are back to MJ Biz Daily. And we here are going to learn that there was a work stoppage at a Chicago area Rise cannabis store, and it ended after 13 days.
Yeah, 13-day strike at 3 Chicago area Rise adult use cannabis stores that began April the 19th came to an end on Tuesday after parent company Green Thumb Industries offered unionized retail workers a significant wage increase, according to union officials. The nearly 2-week work stoppage by retail workers, organized with the International Brotherhood of Teamsters Local 777, is believed to be the longest strike at a cannabis retailer in U.S. history. It's too bad the local wasn't 420 or 710.
I think this is hilarious because it hasn't been history for very long. It is believed to be the longest strike at a cannabis retailer in U.S. history, making it sound like It's been hundreds of years. That just got me as funny. An incentive to return to work. Oh, as an incentive to return to work, Green Thumb offered striking workers wage increases. Wow, of up to 50%. Holy shitballs! According to the Teamsters, who vowed to push to make those raises permanent. About 100 workers at the 3 dispensaries participated in the work stoppage. There are about 100 workers at the 3 dispensaries, and they participated in the work stoppage, according to the union.
Wow, 50%. Either their wage was already really low, or they're really making some real good money now. It's one or the other. A spokesperson for Chicago-based Green Thumb, one of the country's largest multi-stake operators, did not immediately respond to MJ Biz Daily's request for a comment, but union officials and Rise workers celebrated what they consider a major victory and a possible sign of increased labor militancy in the cannabis industry.
Illinois recorded $1.5 billion in cannabis sales in 2022. And that's American, folks, according to state figures. But workers say economic benefits rarely trickle down to frontline workers who are often paid waged consistent with low-level retail jobs, such as those at Target or Walmart. And this is just the beginning. Teamsters Local 777 President Jim Glimko said in a statement. Yeah,
we're showing the whole industry that if you don't play by the rules, we will pull your card. Workers at the Rise stores in Gillette and nearby Niles voted to join the union last year. Negotiations on a contract began in June of 2022, but broke down 2 weeks ago over an alleged violation of the federal labor law.
Wow. Get this. The strike began at 4:20 p.m. on April 19th. Oh, taking it away the day before 4:20.
Yeah, exactly. That's Hug Your Dealer Day.
Yeah. The day before 420 cannabis celebration and one of the busiest shopping days on a cannabis retailer's calendar. After the company officials told union members to remove pro-union buttons that featured a picture of a joint, workers told MJ Biz Daily last week. That led the union to filing a federal unfair labor practices, a ULP, complaint with the National Labor Relations Board, alleging illegal union busting tactics.
Yeah, that complaint was still pending as of this week. Workers at the Rise location started at $16.50 an hour and were pushing for higher starting wage and raises, as well as company contributions to retirement. Riley Drew, a patient care specialist, is saying. Other cannabis chains, including nearby Ascend Wellness Holdings, which is also organized under the Teamsters, start at $19.50 an hour, according to workers.
So these people are going to go up to like $26 to $30 an hour.
50% increase. There's $8 on the $16.50, so there's $24.75. So basically $25 an hour.
$25 an hour, and then the other one is pushing $30 an hour. Only going to be 25 cents off. The Rise dispensaries stayed open during the strike, with high-level corporate employees seen working the bud counter and checking IDs. Woo! I kind of like that one. Come on out of your offices, dudes, and sling some stuff. I like seeing that in any industry, to be honest, right? The union claimed a Green Thumb committed other labor law violations during the strike, including offering promotions to anyone who crossed the picket line and surveillance of the picket line.
Yeah, and just so you know, the strike drew attention from prominent elected officials, including Democratic U.S. Rep. Nikki Budzinski, who represents the area. Budzinski.
Oh my goodness! Now she's got the right name to be working in the industry.
That's what I noticed.
Budzinski. I want to change my name. Budzinski. I like that. What am I taking out of that whole thing? Budzinski. That's too funny. Oh, wow. Well, yeah, and I mean, I agree. I mean, they're making a ton of money in the cannabis industry, no matter where you are.
$1.5 billion in sales in one state.
Yeah. So I think
the
they can afford.
Federal government won't legalize it even for the money.
to pay their employees $25 to $30 an hour, I think that's okay. I think they could probably afford to pay more, right? But yeah, I'm happy to see that wage increase for the bud tenders. I'm an ex-bud tender. I would have loved to have had that wage. Especially American. What would that be in Canada? I mean, you're talking like $40 an hour, $45 an hour.
Yeah, obviously you got to do the changeover. Yeah, but like we get, like, I shouldn't say we, but I think the bud tenders here, they're somewhere around that similar wage, that $17 an hour. But I don't know.
When I started, when I was doing it, we're talking pushing 10 years ago now. I was making $20 an hour.
Yeah.
Under the table.
Under the table.
And I think that's very.
Well, they're making 16 above the table, and they're still losing all the tax, and all the other stuff.
Yeah. And I don't know what the bud tenders are making in the legal stores up here now, to compare.
Yeah.
So, but they're government.
Maybe somebody will post that in the comments before we're done, because we got one story left here.
One more story left. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. You froze for half a second. And speaking of the one last story left, let's head over and take a gander at it. And we're coming from the Medical Express this time. Collaborative and creative policies are needed to maximize psychedelics' therapeutic potential. And this is said by some researchers.
Yeah, because research supports the promise of psychedelics in treating conditions like depression and post-traumatic stress disorder. But the future regulatory landscape for these medicines remains unclear. Experts from Baylor College of Medicine, the University of Pennsylvania, American University, and Harvard Law School call for creativity and collaboration at the federal and state levels in developing policies for the use and the oversight of psychedelics, and a commitment to developing a strong evidence base for efficacy and safety.
Yes. In a paper published in the journal Science, the authors, experts in bioethics, law, and policy, propose solutions to 3 regulatory changes in anticipation of Food and Drug Administration approval of psychedelics for medicinal use in the coming years. The publication is part of the Ethical Legal Implications and Psychedelics in Society, the Ellipsis program at Baylor Center for Medical Ethics and Health Policy, and the Project on Psychedelics Law and Regulation, which is the POPLAR, at the Petrie-Flom Center for Health Law Policy, Biotechnology, and Bioethics at Harvard Law School. Wow.
Yeah. Ellipsis? I can't pronounce that word either. That short form there. Aims to address ethical and policy issues surrounding the use of psychedelic medicines. Poplar, launched in 2021, examines the ethical, legal, and social implications of psychedelics research, commerce, and therapeutics. Now, Dr. Amy McGuire, lead author, and Leon Jaworski, professor at biomedical ethics and director of the Center of Medical Ethics and Health Policy at Baylor, say we are clearly on the brink of a major opportunity to help people legally access psychedelic treatment. And therefore, the need has never been greater to anticipate, identify, and discuss challenges, regulations, and risks. We hope this dialogue helps all parts of the system prepare and coordinate so patients can access these treatments in an ethical, equitable way as soon as they become available.
Wow. The authors outline a need for regulations around the therapeutic context of psychedelic medicine. It is commonly recognized that the participant's mindset and the physical setting during the therapy are important for the psychedelic experience. Set and setting are so important. And research has focused on the use of psychedelics in the context of assisted psychotherapy. And set and setting are very important. You have to have good intentions and a positive belief of that these things are going to help you, for them to really help you. And you have to be in the right room. You have to be with the right people. Set and setting are so important, because if you don't have the right set and setting, it can be a really bad trip.
Yeah, don't want that.
No, with the FDA while the FDA regulates drugs, the agency does not ordinarily regulate conditions of use. The authors propose that the FDA consider risk evaluation and mitigation strategies specifying conditions for safe use, which also may help promote effectiveness, and work with agencies at the state level to enact practitioner certifications and requirements.
The paper also calls for collaboration between federal and state governments, as well as state licensing boards and professional societies on decriminalizing psychedelics for both medical and non-medical use, as well as a need to preserve space for traditional and religious uses of psychedelics.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Considering psychedelics as medicine will require new ways of thinking about regulation, both for the FDA and the regulation of practice of medicine by states. We hope to help them set an appropriate course while also respecting longstanding use by Indigenous populations, said Glenn Cohen, who is the co-author, and James A. Atwood and Leslie Williams, who are professor of law and deputy dean at Harvard Law School.
Now, the authors warn against following the state-by-state legalization model used for cannabis, which has not provided adequate incentives for the collection of safety and efficacy data necessary for FDA approval. Now, they say that there is a lot of excitement around the use of psychedelics for therapeutic purposes, and equitable access will be critical. But we have to make sure that allowing these medicines to be used outside FDA's regulatory pathways doesn't inhibit the generation of essential evidence about whether, when, and for whom these medicines will serve as strong treatment options, according to Holly Fernandez-Lynch, who's the co-author and assistant professor of medical ethics at the University of Pennsylvania's Perelman School of Medicine. Mm-hmm.
Finally, the authors stress the need for creative solutions and regulatory synthetic and natural psychedelics. Naturally occurring psychedelics are heterogeneous and therefore harder to study in clinical trials and difficult to produce consistently for commercial use. Synthetic psychedelics are easier to produce and patent, making them more commercially profitable, but these medicines made with isolated active ingredients may lack the beneficial effects found in natural psychedelics. And therefore, the authors call for funding and support of clinical trials to generate data and ensure a pathway for approval of naturally occurring psychedelics. I agree and disagree with that. I have recently been able to go and take the psychedelic 5-MeO DMT, and the natural version comes from the Bufo alvarius toad. His secretions are dried and then vaped. You can also get this by extracting it from melatonin, actually.
Really?
Yeah, so you extract the pure molecule. It is still natural, but it is extracted in a lab. So depending on who you talk to, I have been taught to call it the pure molecule, while other people call it the synthetic because it's made in a lab. But it was found out by a vegan scientist, and the only reason why he went searching to do it was to save the toad, because you had to scare the toad, and they would go out with bright lights and vehicles, and some of the toads would get killed, and
some suffering. I've read some stuff on it about some suffering to the toads and stuff.
Yeah. So he figured out a way to make it without making the toads suffer or hurting them. And then he gave it out freely to everybody. Everybody could have the formula. You need a lab to make it, but he wasn't about making money and or anything. And I've done both versions of this, and if it's created properly by somebody who is in it to help people, you get the same spirit coming from both molecules. And but I've also taken synthetic THC, which was created in a lab by the government, which wasn't created with that love and that intention. And it was not good. Created
for different purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that comes through in the medicine, believe it or not. How it affects the patient will be affected by why it was made. Mm-hmm. And they make huge differences. So I both agree and disagree.
Yeah. All right. And to finish the story off, I say that during an age when scholars and policymakers are struggling to adapt FDA's traditional regulatory modalities to cutting-edge technologies such as gene therapy and machine learning. This paper highlights the comparable daunting regulatory challenges posed by a product from the other end of the spectrum, a naturally occurring botanical product used for millennia, says Dr. Louis Grossman, co-author and professor of law and affiliate professor of history at the American University, Washington College of Law.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. You know, if they can do all this, it's quite the thing. So.
Yep.
And the same with these, growing of these mushrooms that we're talking about in the other stories, with being able to grow those and people being able to use them as medicines. We're doing it with cannabis, and
yeah, and I mean we're studying, the government studying psilocybin right now. Like I say, I literally 2-minute walk that way is the Nova
really,
Scotia. And probably not even 2 minutes. 2 minutes because I lollygag. Like 5 houses up is the facility, and they're there doing their thing now. I do know that they are growing. They're growing both natural psilocybin, so they're growing mushrooms, but they are creating a synthetic psilocybin up there as well.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. I would really think that that's probably the way the industry may go, because of, I would think the government might look at the cannabis situation where they've always been in court battling patients, fighting over that, and then communities complaining about the smell or light or some of the headaches that they probably don't want to see that could happen with the mushrooms. So I could see them trying to get the synthetic versions, or those patients may not be able to produce their own. They will only be allowed to come from companies.
Yeah. And as long as they have the right vegan scientists putting it together and embodying love into it, so it actually helps the patients, unlike what they did with the THC synthetic, I'm okay with that. Because like I say, I have discovered with the 5-MeO, if it is made with love and made with proper intention, and there's my cat, then you can still embody that spirit of the medicine and help people. No, you've got to stay off the table, sweetheart.
Oh, mine likes to come up here and get on top of the keyboard.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what she's doing. But I mean, this has brought us to the end. I mean, it's been in a couple of interesting conversations with these stories. I always enjoy that. So for our viewers on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, cbgtv.com. I work for Pace Radio Network. Look, I forgot that. Boxcast, Roku, Firestick, and for our friends over at legacy420.com and the Campbellford Lifestyle. That's our Psychedelics and Cannabis educational news broadcast for today, May the 4th. And catch our next broadcast on Monday with Kelly and Al, of course. Happy, what is it, Star Trek Day? Star Trek
Day? Yeah, Star Trek Day, yeah.
So may the 4th be with you, and I hope that you all have an absolutely lovely day. And I hope you have a great day as well, Al.
You too, Cindy. You too.
Bye, folks.
Bye-bye. I gotta go help with
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you a cannabis content creator? Are you looking for a place to have your content seen? If you answer yes to both questions, then you need to check out cbgtv.com. CBG TV broadcasting to a worldwide audience. Find us at cbgtv.com.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.